Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on this Craftsman YT3000. Going to be replacing the head gasket because I diagnosed it to have a bad head gasket because it was leaking oil out, which means it's really blown pretty bad to be leaking all this oil out. And when you try and start it up, it just chugs oil out, and like blue smoke and even liquid oil coming out of the exhaust really bad, which means there's oil from the valves because this is an overhead valve engine. The valve train has oil in it, and it's going into the cylinder and burning oil. So basically, this motor is actually a 19 horsepower motor. It's like almost brand new. I was told from the previous owner he replaced it, and you can tell it's been replaced. It looks like, besides all the oil everywhere, everything as far as the engine looks like almost brand new. So basically 19 horsepower. He used the old cover because it had the pulse pump or something on there, and yeah, I messed with it for a little bit off camera and found that it ran terrible, and I figured I'd show you guys how to replace a head gasket on one of these mowers. I have a kit, gasket kit for it. It has the intake gasket, the exhaust gasket, because they're on the head. Right back here in the back is the valve cover gasket, and two head gaskets because it's like it's for different motors. Because these motors, this is like a 21 horsepower all the way to like 17 and a half on these. Like interchangeable parts. It's a lot of it. They're like really similar. So I guess the head gaskets are different, and one's bigger and one's smaller. So yeah. But basically, we're going to take the hood off and get in there, and I'll show you what we're looking at as far as taking the head off. So right in here, we have first off the valve cover, which the gasket's been replaced already with the cork gasket, so somebody's been in there probably checking valve clearances or something. So we got to take off the spark plug wire because the spark plug is on the head. We have to take out the bolts here, these two bolts, to take the whole carburetor intake assembly loose from the head, and then we have to take these Allen bolts out for the exhaust here, and these four around the square valve cover, and then we can get to the and we have to take off these two, and I think I'll just remove the whole cover possibly so we can get in there better. Okay, so I've taken this cover off with the two little twist nut things up there, and took the air cleaner off, and then this little intake pipe will just slide through the cover through there, and I just have to take out these two bolts up here, two bolts back there. There's one, there's two, if you can see it right there, and then I think there's two pins in this pulse pump. It's a little fuel pump thing, and you just pop it off, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so I've taken that cover off. The two bolts in the back are a little hard to get to. You have to use a wrench instead of a ratchet. But yeah, I think we're ready to just take the intake and the exhaust off and get rid of our spark plug wire real quick. And just pull that out. Yep. Also, these little fins will be the plastic sits in between the inside one and the outside one, and they might be hard to pull out a little bit, but you got to make sure you put them back in the right spot when you put it on. Okay, so I've removed the intake over here, and I just put the bolts back in the head so I don't lose them. And the exhaust is actually not an Allen, it is a Star, I guess is what, or a Torx is what I guess they're called. And I have a set here, just a Harbor Freight Pittsburgh set, and that's how you take those out, right in there. So now we just need to take this off, and then I'll show you what to do with the push rods and everything in there. Okay, now before I remove this cover, actually I forgot to say, some oil may come out of this once you remove it, and even if you drained all the oil, so you need to catch that with a rag or something, and because you can see some came out of mine, I was loosening it right there, I forgot to drain the oil. And so I just need to drain the oil over here, and then after that I'll show you the valve train and what we need to take out with the push rods and everything. Okay, so I've opened it up, I've took off the valve cover, it's sitting right over there. Now we can see our valves here. Valves, rockers, push rods. So, you can see this valve right here is loose, it's open. I mean closed. The actual valve is closed, which makes this loose. This valve is opening right now, this is the exhaust valve, but doesn't really matter what valve it is. We just want both of them to be loose like this. So we tone it. We tone the engine up here until we get. See now this one's loose right here, but this one is tight. So we keep going. Now, we get kind of tough right here. Tough to move. But this one's loose, and this one's loose. So that means we're on, we're on the compression stroke. And that's what we want. We want both of these to be loose. So, then it'll be easier to push the push rods back up here against the rockers when we're putting it back on. So once you got that, then we can go ahead and start pulling the head bolts out. I'll go ahead and show you where they are quick. One there, I believe there's 1, 2, 3 right down there, one under there, and then there is 2 right there, and I think that's it. You can look at your new valve cover and see also, I mean your head gasket, and see it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the valves where they need to be and take the head off. Okay, so the head is off. You have to take the push rods out with it. The heavier one goes on the top. It's steel for the exhaust, and the aluminum one goes on the bottom. And if you can see the holes back there, the middle one is for oil. The top and bottom ones are for the valve push rods. And yeah, so that's ready to go for the new gasket after we scrape this one off. Unless you have like a really new engine, even if this one was really new, most of the time the gasket's going to rip like in half, and you have to scrape it off with a scraper, whatever kind of scraper. I use the you can use these just like putty scraper knife things. I have a plastic scraper that so it won't like damage the metal, and then we'll put the new gaskets on and put it all back together. Alright guys, so sorry for the background noise, but I cleaned all this up on the head, and on the head and the engine block, all the gasket is off. Well, good enough for this one to seal. And here's the new gasket. You can see it matches the old one except for a little notch right here that isn't put in it, but it should be okay. I think that's just how they made it, because you know you can make it cheaper if you take some out. But there we go. So let's see, put it up there. All the holes line up. It's ready to go. Now we can bolt the head back on. By the way, make sure you get all of the stuff from scraping the gasket out of here and out of the head, because you don't want any of that in your engine. So, like this motor has an oil filter, but still not good to be going around in your motor. It could cause some bad stuff. So yeah, basically, I'm gonna put the head back on here and show you. Well, actually, first I'm going to show you the torque pattern for the head, like the which bolt you're supposed to torque. Like it'll, I'll show you in a second. Show you which bolt you torque first and everything, and then we can torque it on there. 150 inch-pounds and 250 inch-pounds. So you need a torque wrench. I have one, not in there. Right here. So basically, I think this one reads in foot-pounds. So you just have to look up just translating from inch-pounds to foot-pounds. It should be 150 and 250. Okay, so here is the torque pattern. This is the top of the cylinder head here. So the bottom middle is 1, top middle is set. Well, okay, so first, and then this is 2, so second. Then over here is 3. Over here is 4, 5, 6, 7, which is that one, and 8, side middle. So, here is an overview of that. And that is your torque pattern. So, we're going to do 150 inch-pounds first, and then 250 inch-pounds. And then it'll be completely tight. So I'm going to just put them in finger tight so that I can set you up and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so we have 150 inch-pounds is how much I want to torque them to, and to convert to foot-pounds is 12.5. And 250 inch-pounds converted to foot-pounds is approximately 21. It's like 20.8 or something. So now I just have to set my torque wrench and just torque them in the pattern. And yeah, I'll come back to you when that's done, because it's a lengthy process. Okay, now I've got the head put on. I did one round of 150 inch-pounds, then 250 inch-pounds, and then 250 inch-pounds again, just to check and make sure I did it good, and it's ready to go. So now we need to reinstall our push rods. So we have the steel one on the top and the aluminum one in there on the bottom. I need to clean these off before I put them in, and then I'll put them in and tighten them down. Okay, so now that our push rods are in place, we're going to take a star bit into the middle of our valve adjusters and break it loose. It's going to sound like it almost breaks the bit there, but break them loose, and now you can spin your valve adjusters, and you're just going to want to spin them out a little ways, loosen them up so that you can get it over the push rod. so it'll be a little bit difficult. But basically, we're going to loosen this some more. And you got to just feed this, make sure the push rod's in this little divot, and make sure this is over the valve. Now that they're up there and where they need to be, just loosely snug them up to where they have a little bit of wiggle room and play. And then spin the motor over and make sure this doesn't have the spark plug in it yet, so you can spin it freely. See, okay, so the exhaust open, now the intake's opening. Perfect. All of this is working how it's supposed to. Now, you need to look up the engine specifications, but usually it's going to be 6 to 8, or around 6 to 8 thousandths, I think it is, valve flash. And then we're going to take one of these. Mine are all a mess, but get one and put in, and we're going to set it. I'll show you how to in just a second. Okay, so to set our valve flash, you're going to want to hold this with one hand and spin this nut in. And since we know this is how much we want, this feeler gauge here, this is how much room we want, then we're going to want to make it slide easy enough. There needs to be a little drag. And once there's a little bit of drag, about like that right there, maybe a little bit tighter, make sure you wipe this off before you do it. About right there, that's where we're going to want it. So then you're going to need to hold the nut straight with a wrench and spin the little star in, and then don't let the nut move. And then once that's tight, then you can move on to the other one, and that's how you set your valve flash. Okay, now just the way everything came off, we're going to put it back on. The intake, the exhaust, the valve cover, and the I don't know, the plastic cover over the engine. All of that needs to go back on. When you put the plastic cover on, you gotta make sure that the plastic goes in there, and there's no torque specs for any of this. You just throw it on snug, tight. Make sure that the gasket seals, basically, and stuff like that. And then after that, we're gonna fill it with oil and see how it does. See if it runs any better.